Event, yes. Okay, so Bill, Cube,
Yo.
thanks for trying this out with me. We talked about it a little bit before, and we're gonna build upon the work that I had done, the Perlin Noise stuff, from my first time doing this live stream playing, I guess.
hmm
And you had an idea that, for a quick test to see how our collaborative environment that we've kind of decided on works, to try to just take the Perlin Noise plot that I had made and add color, do something to it, right? Modify it in some way and see if we can make it look cool and see how this workflow works.
Yeah, because when I watch it swirling around on my screen, I'm reminded of fractals like Mandelbrot explorations, and those. I mean, color is an artifact. The numbers underlying it are just numbers,
Sure.
but they colorize it based on length of decay, how long it took for a point to spiral off into infinity. And I thought we could apply something similar here, where maybe color is based on how long something stayed dark before it shifted back to light. And I don't know, I have no idea what that's going to look like, but I thought it'd be a fast thing we could do.
Yeah, well, I think that it's worth doing. We might have to create some supporting data structures to keep track of this stuff or whatever.
Right.
And I guess we should both preface, well, I should preface for both of us that we are not JavaScript experts, so we'll probably end up doing stuff wrong, and we're learning as we go. I played with some stuff before, but I'm no expert.
I am getting feedback that apparently, because of my lack of headphones, I am quite echoey, and you are awesome.
Well, that is true. Glad somebody noticed.
Thank you, Jessica.
Okay, so we're using Flubits, and we're not experts at this either. This is kind of my first time playing with it, and yours as well, I believe.
hmm
It will show our changes as we go, and it may jump back and forth if we're in different files. I don't know how it'll work if we're in the same file in points on the screen that don't fit on the screen, or points in the file that don't fit on the screen. So we'll see how it looks, and we may have to figure out or submit feedback to them or whatever, and see how that goes. So we're going to spin up a new file here. So I'm doing this in my Sublime window, and I believe you're doing the same. So we're locally editing our files in Sublime, and we're seeing the result online in Flubits here.
Yeah. I
What
think
we're
we could
seeing, sorry, go ahead.
I think we could edit on Flubits itself, but I think doing it in Sublime makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and I like having the comfortable environment.
Yeah, multi-line edits and all that.
Yes. So let me spin up a new folder here. See if
Okay.
this works. Folder, new folder. This is session 3. I never put the code for session 2 in here. I just need to get to that at some point. What did I call this? Further Perlin Noise.
Further Perlin Noise with Cube.
Copy that.
I have a headset, but it doesn't have a microphone, so we'll look at that for next time.
Alright. So we wanted to kind of build upon this stuff from the first session. So I'm just going to open that, copy everything from there, and put it in here. So if that worked in Flubits, we should have those reflected at some point as well. So let's open this session 3, Perlin Noise.
I don't see anything replicated onto Flubits yet. Is it supposed to be?
I think so. So I just saved the file. Did that do it?
I just got something.
Yeah, I wonder how we get it to take all the files.
I only got README. Do you need to open each one and save it?
I guess. So
I thought
save.
a more elegant way to do that. Fortunately, we only have half a dozen files. So
Yeah. Okay, so I think I got them all.
is the link to the previous output available on the YouTube page?
No. We can put that. Well, so I can put that somewhere. We can put it in a chat in the YouTube page. I don't know if those are persistent when someone loads the page.
Okay.
The problem with doing stuff new is we don't actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
So alright, so can I edit this?
Jessica was wondering why we weren't using Twitch, why we were using this instead. And I know you had reasons.
I've not typically been a big fan of Twitch for this stuff. Most Twitch streamers don't set their stuff up to auto archive, and we get that as a result of just putting it on YouTube. It automatically will save it to YouTube when we're done.
And I suppose you could monetize it eventually.
If I care about that portion, I don't so much now, but yeah, I guess you totally could. So I'm gonna see here. That didn't work. So let's edit this. So I'll just edit the description in the YouTube video for a link to the base page on the GitHub pages page. And then as I push things, that can be refreshed, and you'll see a link to session 3, and then you can click the session 3 and refresh from there.
Cool. Because I actually, just for inspiration, have the output from session 1, which is just the Perlin minus the graph, just flowing around, kind of like a screensaver.
Alright, so I added a link to that, which right now is still just a link to session 1, but we don't have anything for session 3 yet anyway.
Okay.
So that'll come. I don't know what... Oh yeah, I was going to say I don't know why all these files are open, but now I remember why they're all open.
Yeah.
Alright, so...
I suspect we're going to spend most of our time in Perlin.js and Ribbon.js.
Yeah, probably. We may, like I said, if we create a new data structure, you know, another file for that maybe.
Okay.
So let me open up the base README, figure out how to make a markdown link, and building upon the work from session 1.
Oh, nice.
And I have no clue if that will work. Probably not. About slash, maybe. Yeah, up 1 into there. Okay, sure. And view, so result, output, something, output. Not that. Instead, it's going to be. Well, we don't have that link yet, right? But that's actually just going to be this index.html here. So session 3, and it's going to be local index. That's all wrong. Wait, this is the README, right? Yeah, so we'll fix that later.
Okay.
To do. So this should be good. Perlin Noise, we can edit that name as well. Seems like we're slowly building up to something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that should be enough to get us a session 3 on the page. Now let me edit this guy, and we'll put in, probably at some point need to put these in divs.
Yeah, that's okay to be pretty bare bones for it right now. You need to update the text in the anchor.
And the path and everything, so.
Yeah, that's true. Would it make more sense for the... never mind. Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so session 3.
What am I saying you need to? I can do this.
Further, you can. That is the point. So further playing with Perlin Noise with Cube. Pair programming or some such. Alright, and then one more file, and that's this guy.
I could imagine this could be scripted even.
It probably should be at some point. That's crazy talk. Okay, so whoa.
I'm a little curious what books people can see on my shelf.
Okay, so let me get this pushed. Get and okay, so now I'm doing is getting the GitHub pages set up so that people can actually view this out there.
Okay.
So just about done with that portion. Git merge.
A refresher of what's in some of these JavaScript files.
Okay, so that should be live. So if we go to which window? Lots of windows here, trying to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
All right, so if this window goes to the that, we should see a session 3, which we do. Go there, we should get that. Okay, cool. So we actually have session 3 live on my GitHub pages thing. And we lost our debug window. So one moment.
So because it's JavaScript, we can see the output live on GitHub?
Yes, incrementally. It does require a push. So at some point we'll say, hey, this is a good point to checkpoint it and get that pushed out.
That makes sense.
All right, so now we should be back to good on the stream. Okay, so where do you want to start with this then? And you should be able to view the results on yours. Like you said, I think you said that you had it running locally, right?
I'm going to have to open up in a new tab because it's a new index file. So open containing folder and open, and of course it looks identical.
So that one, no. I'm going to close out all of those.
Now it's the further Perlin Noise. So I think step 1 is I want to understand your terminology a little bit better. Like ribbon.js, what is a ribbon for this Perlin generator?
That's a very good question. I need to do one more piece here before I can get to that. Sorry. So session 3 and open in browser.
I'm just looking through some of the Perlin.js stuff.
Okay. Okay, so your question was, what is ribbon.js? Hello, Eris VC 2009.
From a Perlin function that I would know about if I knew about Perlin stuff?
No, it's a thing that I did in support of trying to. So session 1, actually, what we're seeing here is not session 1, and that is probably because you had changed it out from under me, I think, when we were. Right. So let me just open up in my browser session 1 online.
We could put it back if we had to.
Well, no, it's fine. I'll show what we had, or what I had ended up with.
Because I'm really interested in the grid part of it and less interested in the graphing part of it.
Oh, it looks like I ended up pushing that live as well. Thanks. Okay. So that was in. So in, where was that? In Perlin.js. So we're in session 3. Whoops.
Line 65.
Perlin.js.
67.
Right.
Uncomment 67 and go ahead and shift refresh this page. There's the graph.
And I actually commented out the call to Perlin plot. So the result that we're seeing now in hopefully my output window on the stream is some fancy ribbons going by, and these are sampling certain coordinates from, or arbitrary coordinates from the Perlin plot,
Okay.
and just outputting a delta off of the center. If it's north of 128, I think, then we go up. If it's south of 128, we go down. And then we get this nice little ribbon, which I thought was a cool effect from a game I had seen. And so I wanted to try to replicate that. So I believe, and it may just work, this code may still be functional enough that we can actually view what the Perlin ribbon was. Okay, so just the call to Perlin ribbon, we're showing what that the yeah. So the charts, or the you keep calling it a graph. That's this shifted left over time. The output of this plotted where it is, shifted left over time, and we get something that looks like a graph.
The ribbon singular is a really interesting noise generator by itself.
Well, it is a sample of the noise generator.
Right.
So what you wanted to do is Perlin plot. So this big grid that we have, you wanted to try to modify this and get something cool going on. And I think that that's great. So what we should probably do is start trimming this down. So we don't need any of these calls to Perlin ribbon, Perlin ribbons, or anything. But to get back to your original question, ribbon is, I believe, the representation that you see in Perlin ribbons.
Okay, so that's awesome. That means I can ignore it. What I really am interested in is the code that is supporting the plotting.
Yeah, so these are, I think each of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of these, I think these are the ribbons from ribbon.js.
Okay.
And so yeah, if you don't want those, then we can certainly get rid of those. And I think that that's valid.
Okay. So what I'm looking at then is the Perlin plot function, because I'm trying to work backwards looking at the code to see where you were coming from. And I'm seeing the noise.perlin for a noise value. So does that mean Perlin plot is grabbing things from the Perlin noise generator live? There's no caching of values somewhere?
That is correct. We step the on line 80. We sample, well, sorry, that's for Perlin ribbons. Okay, so on plot.
115?
115. Yep, so we're saying step forward in time. So we're telling it always grab from the same spot for this x coordinate in our grid, in the Perlin noise grid, but sample it forward in time from what it was previously, and then that Perlin cycle gets updated on line 69 in tick. We step that forward at some increment, and increment is some small number that I thought looked like it changed nicely.
Okay, so that's line 15. Okay, so Blime text is not flipping around. I think I should be following, I don't know. So if I were to change this to something 10 times faster, then I would expect this to induce seizures, and I was correct.
So let's see what that does.
And I just made it 10 times slower. Okay, so that is directly correlated with how fast. Actually, the 10 times slower is pretty cool.
So actually, I don't need to save these files to update them. So if you make a change in FluBits and you save it, so modify that number some bigger or smaller value, the Perlin cycle increment.
Okay.
Okay, and did you save it on your end?
Yes.
Okay, so if I refresh on this side, I picked that up already. So I was actually trying to go back, save it, and then refresh this so I could catch those, but it looks like it works automatically. Okay. So that's actually cool.
Doing some pretty good synchronization. So this is really interesting. I mean, it's very amoeba-like, very Conroy Game of Life-ish, but a little bit slow for what I want to see.
Yeah, so I think that the 0075 that it was, or was it 075 initially? No, I don't remember.
What it was, which was 075.
Yeah. Okay, that may be a little fast for what we want, but let's see what we can do with it. So I think that first we should probably just start creating.
Well, what I'm envisioning, I think, is what we just need is an X by Y data structure.
Sure.
To save off maybe a count. Like, if these values are being mapped to something like -1 to +1, how are you getting the colors?
Where do I get the color? So for the plot, that's just a grayscale, 0 to 255. And then I apply that to the color RG and B, so then we actually get a straight gray out of it.
Okay. So what if that weren't gray? How would that work?
So the easiest way to do that is we've got, I think my fill rect function here, or that call to fill rect, I think that is taking, no, it's the fill style, that's taking the color. And if we wanted it to not be gray, we could just change one of those. So now we're not setting a blue component, and so now we'll get a red and a green, which is yellow, I think.
Yeah. Time for me to open up my color wheel reference again.
I got to be better about checking the YouTube stream result to see if there are comments. And there are no further comments, but that's cool. That means we're captivating.
Or just kidding, Christopher finally went to bed. See, red and green, yes, yellow. Okay, so this is, I mean, already pretty cool. But what I was thinking is, what if we segmented? This is a 0 to 255, so if it's less than 128, let's map it to one channel, and if it's greater than 128, let's map it to another.
Okay, sure. So do we just want a function that we pass into and it does that work for us then?
Maybe, I mean, for a proof of concept, we could just do something here. If noise value is less than 128, then we do that, else, what's JavaScript? Is it else or else if?
Else works.
Okay, that's fine. So we want one of them here, and the other one, and then for blue, that's going to be a combination of...
Well, I think that we're already halfway there. Why don't we just do that and see what it looks like right now?
I love it. Okay.
Okay, that's pretty sweet. We got, what, green and pink? Is that what that is? Or is that's the darker yellow, right?
Fuchsia. That is what would be yellow and fuchsia. I'm going to go ahead and knock down the speed because I think you're right. I don't think that's a good speed for us.
Right.
So even that's a little too fast. 0.05 is a little faster than I want. Let's see. Yeah.
That looks pretty good.
Okay. So this is actually more or less what I was thinking of.
So we're done. This was good.
This is good. Let's take one step further. Let's try dividing up into 3 segments instead of 2. So 255 divided by 3 is 85 for each one. So we're going to go 85, else if noise value less than 170. And I don't want to do RGB because that's bad for you and anyone else who can't see RGB. But combinations of the first 2, second 2, and third 2 should be fine. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, and then 2 and 3. Oops.
Do you want those to be zeros?
I do. What's that 9 doing there?
You put it there. I fixed it.
I did. Okay, so now what I'm seeing is aqua, which I would have called cyan, fuchsia, and yellow. Amoeba-like things growing and shrinking.
Yeah, I don't think that this looks particularly pleasing, but it is kind of cool. I like the border around the not pink, not green color.
What? Not green.
Yeah, perhaps. It's got like a bluish color on the border. We get these blobs of the cyan, I guess, and around it is usually the pink because there's not a jump to the green section because it's a smooth transition.
This magenta. What's going on there? Blue and green, so RGB, the first and the third, is dominating.
The pink is dominating. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, and for people watching, I'm colorblind, so I speak in imprecise colors and wrong colors all the time. So yeah, I think the pink is dominating because that's our central color, and I think that on a scale of random colors that smoothly transition, we're not going to be at the peak of 0 and 255. We're going to tend to be somewhere between those.
So it's not quite sinusoidal, but it is around an attractor.
Well, why don't you, well, why don't I
Noise.js.
turn back on, well, let's see, let's turn on Perlin Ribbon and Perlin Plot.
This is going to be horrible.
It's behind it, so let's change the order of those. And that didn't do nice things because Perlin Plot is probably clearing the screen.
Okay.
No. Is Perlin Ribbon? No, that doesn't make any sense.
You used to be able to do 2 of them at once.
Yeah, we were doing ribbons, yeah. So we can actually see it back here, though. It's not as nice, but your question of is it sinusoidal? I don't think that it actually is. It's just smooth transitions between. But if you watch that back there, you can see that it tends to be somewhere in the middle, not at the bottom and the top. So I think what we need to do is just make our range for the center to be smaller.
Okay, yeah. Let's, instead of dividing into thirds, what happens if it is, what's a good thing to do? I want to increase the middle by not a lot. How about sevenths? And then the middle one will take 3/7 and the outer 2 would take 2/7.
Sure.
Alright, so that means this should be more like 72. And then 255 divided by 7 times 5. And that should be 182. No, I'm going the wrong way. Right.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to actually look up a pleasing palette, such as a flame palette or something, and then maybe at some point we can just apply our values to a section of the palette.
Okay. Yeah, because I just chose contrasting colors from a color wheel that weren't both red and green, which would not have been helpful.
Sure.
Okay. So what I've actually done here is used dividing into eighths, and then 3/8 on low end, 3/8 on the high end, and only 2/8 on the middle end.
And is that something I can refresh and see?
Yes, I've saved that.
Okay. That looks like it's sharing the space more equally than it was before.
Yes. And I'm seeing a lot less magenta, which is awesome.
So while I'm looking up this palette, why don't you just kind of generalize your conditional block there,
yeah,
and maybe pull it out into a function and then say I want to split it into this many parts, and then just feed it into it and get a color out of it.
Yep. All right. So. I have to do my math. I think this could be further generalized, but I wanted to go ahead and keep the same logical structure without hard coding the eighths thing.
Okay.
So what I've done is made a function that accepts weights for low, medium, high, and so we can programmatically maybe do that instead. So ctx dot. Oh, I can do a return, don't I? Assuming JavaScript returns.
So instead of doing the CTX fill style, return the RGB.
Yeah, that's what I'm just updating right here.
All right.
Thank you. And then CTX fill style equals sign color. And then so we have that noise value. And then we have 3, 2, and 3. Let's see what I have wrought. I'm not sure I wrought something correctly because I have a blue screen.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So let's see why that is in my handy debug window, if that's what this one is. So console. Unexpected token parenthesis on line 112. You probably saved it while I was doing something. That didn't change it. Oh yeah. Equal function. Yeah, if we knew what we were doing here in JavaScript land, this would be easier. So what's that do?
It wasn't me yet. It was you.
It was. Yeah, I'll take the blame. I don't mind.
Okay, you've done. Maybe it was me. The colors are very different than what they were.
Don't blame me.
No, this one is on me. What did I do wrong? All right, so total weight in this case is 8. So if a low weight is 3 divided by 8 times 255, that's what I would be expecting. JavaScript should do normal PEMDAS.
That's me and it. Sure. So equal. How do I create an array on the fly? Can I do that? That. RGB.
Are you making my JavaScript not compile?
Yep, that's probably me on the fly. So we'll do that. I can be done in a moment.
Yeah, it's your line 51 that's causing problems.
I have no doubt of that.
I was not accumulating the weights as I went up, so it needed to be low weight plus mid weight.
Oh, I see. So you theoretically have that fixed, and
yeah. So
I don't know if this is
low weight or not low weight.
I don't know if this is how I actually do an array instantiation and population.
Yeah.
But I did save it, so does our file work now? No.
I am seeing a JavaScript error on 52 undefined token.
52. Oh. That doesn't work, apparently. Is that our RGB function? Yeah. RGB takes RGB. So I can't just pass it that. That's interesting. So is this the syntax? There, you're up and running again.
Alright. Okay, so fixing the error in logic there did make this result look very similar to what it was supposed to. So assign color is initially working. It would be awesome if we could go ahead and pull from your array based on its position within the weights.
Well, and that's actually the function that I had started there, the get color from palette. was going to choose, we could just say, here's palette, let's go from palette 1 to, so I was just going to get a palette here.
Yeah.
So palette is, I'm just making sure this is actually a valid array. Okay, so let me stuff this into palettes. So palettes, whoa, that didn't do what I wanted it to. Palettes dot push palette, and then the get color from palette. So do you want your assigned color to return, well, that won't work. We'd need some more info on our palettes. Right now, the one palette I have is a length of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So is this palette meant to be a more dynamic assignment of color based on noise weight?
It was just meant to have some places for us to get colors from instead of, so we can predefine the colors that we're choosing instead of having it in your assigned color going and tweaking those values all the time.
Sure. So one thing I'm thinking is we could go ahead and slice up our noise value range and then just say which section of the range are you in, go to this palette at that index.
Right. And I'm totally on board with that, except my point was my palette here is 5 long. The next palette might be 8 long. The next one might be 7 long, and we don't know.
No, I would just go ahead and use the length of that palette, and then we could also have weights. Like this could be a combination of
Sure.
RGB and weight. Sum up the total weights, divide the number, and then go into that index of that particular palette. So dynamically finding a length, assuming JavaScript can do that.
Well, for now, why don't we just take what do you care about your, I mean, you don't have any colors here. You have RG and 0, and R0 and G, or R0 and B, right? So what if instead we return 0, 1. This is just a quick hack to get it in, and then instead of calling assign color, we do get color from palette.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, we'll just ignore the rest of those for now.
That's fine.
And then this guy is going to var c equal assign color with noise value.
I gotcha.
And your 323 we'll just hard code in here as well for now. And then return palette at C.
Yep, I like it.
And what does that do? Okay, that's fancy. So what we don't get with this is the gradient that we were getting out of yours, because I'm just saying, give me the one color for this large section from our palette.
What if we have this, but we could actually multiply it by noise value divided by 255 to get that gradient back in there, or something like that?
Is 255 what we want, or do we want it from the 0 to 1 being the cap of our weight that we're in, our weight section that we're in?
I mean, that code's wrong, but var RGB equals palette C, and then RGB dot, can we do this?
I believe so, because I believe RGB returns a, I'd have to look at the function, but no, it's a string. It's string concatenation. It's returning a string of RGB parenthesis R comma G comma B.
So we can't do this?
No.
But I would like to do something equivalent of this, where the intensity of the color is scaled to the value of noise.
Well, yeah, let me, but let's follow along with, whoops, I didn't do what I want. So
I think that will actually work as well, because if you're in slice number 0, then your number is never going to be higher than whatever. So we actually need to scale according to the weights eventually. But this would get some sort of gradient.
So now palette is just 3 colors in an array.
Nice. Okay.
And so now we can feed that into RGB at the time that we need to. So now You still won't work with what you want. You'll have to do 0, 1, and 2, but you're much closer. So we want to do RGB of RGB. So let's rename your RGB to something else.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, your .r isn't valid either.
It's not.
Right, so we want this to go right there.
In the assignment. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so RGB, and we'll skip that one, and we'll call it, how about PAL color?
Okay, that's fine.
So what does that do? Whoa, there's an A in there.
Nothing.
Okay.
Line 126.
I don't get anything in my console, that's weird.
I may have a partial file. So let's go ahead and refresh.
Yeah, A was not defined.
I'm in CNA.
So C is get color. So let me just step into that. So line 127.
Okay.
Let's see what this does. So C is 0, right? And then from palette we get 0, 0, 0. So palette at 0 was 0, 0, 0. Yeah, our array is bogus.
Yeah.
So, and it's probably just,
I trusted you.
yeah, it's me trusting that I know how to do JavaScript.
You know who does know how to do JavaScript?
I can guess. So we'll just do this, and then we'll do palette.push. Yeah, I think that ought to work. So go down. Boom. It's not any better. So what is our palette? Still zeros. Do I have to new? Seems like I just don't know how to do arrays properly in JavaScript.
Time to research multidimensional arrays in JavaScript.
Initializing an array.
This syntax does not look wrong from what I am seeing.
Also, it is some o'clock at night after a full day.
Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing on one reference page is something that would look like that.
That's what I had initially.
As a scope issue, where's this thing being declared?
Palettes is global, and I push palette into palettes from our init.
Okay. Was it always global?
Yeah. Yep. Back from when it worked. Okay, are we assigning to those? Because at time of instantiation, so by the time I get to line 56, palette does contain 5 entries that are properly populated. Okay. Properly populated palette. And then palettes, where is palettes? That's in there. Let's look at it here. Palettes is an array of length 5, and it's properly populated as well. So then we get to get color from palette. Run. Oh, yeah, I think we're stomping it. It depends on how JavaScript is handling variable referencing.
Are we continually decreasing these things to 0 then?
Yeah, lines 128, 129, and 130, I believe, are stomping our array.
like
Yep.
var new color equals
And
pal color.
yep, we're stomping our array. So for people following along, we're grabbing a palette color from a point in our palette array. So from palettes, we're grabbing the first palette in there. And then we're grabbing the first entry, the first color here, or some portion of that color that is returned by this function. And then we're modifying that value, which is actually modifying by reference the entry in our array, our global array. So we just need to cache those values off.
Something like what I've written on 128 here. Would that syntax work?
128. Yeah, probably. New color, you need to cascade new color down though, right? Oh, never mind. Okay, new color, yeah. That should do something. It's a black screen still.
That's fun.
It did something, I don't know that it did anything more.
At least we're not stopping.
So, new color, 40. Let me check our palettes and make sure we're not stomping anything in there.
Well, now I'm just returning pal color.
Oh, are we calling? Yeah, we're calling RGB. Oh, that's wrong. Yeah, you can't call RGB with new color. You have to call RGB with new color 0, 1, and 2.
Right.
So what does that give us?
That was necessary but not sufficient.
So new color 75, 1959. Get color from palette. And what are we doing with get color from palette?
Okay, so 132 is correct. It's in the non-gradient display.
Right.
So something about 133 is wrong. So what did I do wrong with the definition of color? Pal color.
So what am I seeing right now? Because I'm seeing our three colors. It's just not with the gradient. So this is the result of just palette color, right?
Yeah.
And so you're asking, why is new color not working?
So what's different about the definition new color? Because I thought I was doing an array correctly.
Well, is it because these are floating point values? I would assume that it's... Well, no, we can't assume that because it's getting stuffed into a string. Remember, the RGB call is putting it into a string. So is there some math dot round that we can wrap these in? That's assuming that that function exists.
Sure doesn't.
No?
Unexpected token. You might have caught you in the middle of editing.
There, that's better. It's very dark.
Ooh. Yeah, so this is the problem I was talking about, is the scaling is assuming that the numbers can actually go 0 to 55, but they can't.
Right, and that's why I was saying we'd have to acknowledge the weight section that it's from.
Yeah, but this is providing a gradient, and that's pretty awesome.
Hello, Top Fuel.
No, and an anonymous person, unless that's you.
That is not me. Hello, Anonymous 29494. Okay, so I don't think we're still at what you had talked about originally about drawing the color based on how long it's been in that range.
That was mostly because I didn't really understand the algorithm. I think this is providing something much more visually interesting and is great. What I would like to see is if we could refactor this a little bit to more dynamically say, okay, this is the range that this scales in, therefore this is how we should scale to get a gradient.
I'm going to push what we have because I've been kind of neglecting that.
Okay, this is a good breaking point.
And push.
Let me kill this bad line there.
Alright, so session 3 on... Cool. So the session 3 on the GitHub pages page is currently reflective of what we're seeing locally.
Nice. Okay. Is this something we want to try tonight, or is this a good breaking point? And maybe session 4 we can fix what problems remain.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this was the intent for us to go through this was to kind of get an idea of how FluBits worked for us. I think that it worked pretty well. We were able to edit near each other at the same time, fixing each other's mistakes as they occurred, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
We did get a new cool result out of it. I do think that this is neater than a grayscale gradient, even if it's subdued a little bit, but with the knowledge that it's subdued, we could actually 128 is probably a fair range.
Yeah.
Whoops, wrong window.
That definitely brightened it up.
It did pull it up a little bit.
I think it's mostly an artificial thing because it just is a reduced gradient.
Oh, it totally is. And the get color from palette has no knowledge of the weight sections that we're passing in.
Yeah. That's why the weights should probably be moved into the palette array itself, and then that thing can be calculated from whoever is looking at the palette.
Right, which means a more intelligent data structure than a 3-long array for the palette.
Yeah, well, an array that combines an array and some other stuff might be a little obnoxious.
Yeah. I think at some point, if you're just tacking on more data, then you're just writing handler code around it when that could easily be refactored into some other manager of that data.
Yeah.
Well, I think that what we have is pretty cool. I'm just going to modify the speed. Well, actually, let's we can try to clean up stuff that doesn't exist or stuff that we're not using in this and try to pare this down.
Sure. Oh, you sped it up a little. Okay.
Now I sped it up a lot, which looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, so pixel size 10. Yeah, let's just clean up stuff that we aren't using. Perlin ribbon can go away.
Okay.
Perlin plot wants to stay. Scale noise resize, yeah. Ribbons.
Find unused plugin
What?
for your Sublime.
No, I'm not that cool. Although what you could do is look through FluBits for any of these notes about what we're doing wrong and fix those up. You see next to your line number indicator or your line number status in FluBits, it's got a looks like the result of like running this code through JSLint.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I'll work on that.
So we don't need these ribbons.
Oh, apparently we need semicolons after function definitions, really?
0, 1, 2.
Freaky.
So you know we actually have 5 colors in our palette. Smooth, what'd you do?
I hit shift refresh in the wrong window.
So we have 5 colors in our palette, but we only have 3 sections of our color chunk, right? You broke that into 3 chunks, so we could extend that a little bit, and all the colors from the palette that I found online should marry nicely together. So if we want to take it a little bit further before we quit
Yeah.
or call it good.
Right now, assign color is taking stuff and paying attention to it.
So get
I
color.
could just go ahead and
I'm going to do something you won't like.
doing that. Can we get dynamically the length of an array in JavaScript?
Dot length.
Okay. Good. Then I think, is it possible to use the syntax on line 77?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Good question. Alright, fill canvas. We're not using the pixels either. That was a test I did, which didn't end up working how I wanted it to.
How weird.
So
Is there an array sum function that I'm
I
unfamiliar
think
with?
that there's
Yeah, there should be a helper function that probably does that already, but I'm just gonna write it right now because I want to finish this up.
I think they have some like map reduce functionality, and I don't know if that actually equates though.
Okay. So what I think I've got here is a more dynamic way of looking at this. So I'm gonna give that a try.
Okay.
Unless you, oh, hello.
Hey, that did something.
So taking a look at assign color line 86.
Yep. Okay.
Just grab the total weight sum of a
Sure.
color,
Sure.
and then go ahead and go back through it, summing up how many weights we've hit so far, and then doing that calculation if the noise value is less than that weighted part on 95.
So you're saying right now they are all equally weighted? Is that what your 111 is?
Yes, but if we could go ahead and say 2, 1, 4, 7, 1, then we're going to see some heavy domination of that fourth color, which we do.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'm going to scale that down to 4, though, because I don't want it to dominate that much.
I'm gonna see if I can find another cool palette then.
2, 3, 4, 3, 2. So that'll heavily emphasize the 7. Actually, I want to heavily emphasize the 7 center. We have already talked about that. So let's scale up the outside. Oh yeah, I like that. This is really neat because you can see how the end colors are subsumed in the ones next to them. Like this cyan one is a part of pink. It never appears outside of a pink range because the Perlin Noise generator is very smooth with
Right.
regions.
So we're actually still wrong here. Our divided by 128 is kind of screwing up what this should look like. These should be better transitions, huh?
Yes. So it's not perfect. What I would actually like to do.
I'm gonna fix my array up again.
I like what we've got so far in the assigned color, but
Alright, so get rid of that. Does that still work? Looks like it. Yeah, so I don't know how well you can see your color that is being swallowed by pink, but with my color vision, it's very weird looking. At times it's very hard for me to even see there's something in there, and I just see like a flickering.
For the viewers, I am seeing pink with something that reminds me of cyan or light green, like a light blue or light green inside the pink, which is contrasting for me, but it's not clashing.
So I've just finished adding maybe yes, let me do the same thing here. Okay, so I've just finished adding a new palette. So where we have pull from palette 0, I'm going to tell it pull from palette 1. Ugh, that doesn't look very cool at all. I think that it would look better if we weren't doing the divide by 128. Do you have a way to get rid of that?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now.
Okay.
So what I want to do... Okay, I've just done something horrible. Oh no, because you changed the palette.
I changed the palette, yeah.
Why is everything orange? What I want to actually do is return an array of wait begin and wait end. And then what I want to do here is var wait range equals nope, I've broken something.
I've got a black screen. Cannot read property 0 on line 88.
Can't read property 0.
Pal color result.
I didn't do that one. It was C, I think. Okay. So C0 there. And then C2 and C1. I misread my variable names.
Wow, you made it not cooler. It's still neat. It looks like blood appearing on screen.
How is that not cool?
My bad. So your weights appear to be wrong because I did see a third color pop up there. This is actually a pretty cool effect. It's like worms surfacing or something. That's kind of neat.
Okay, so I've done something. So looking at line 105, what I was trying to do, actually what I am doing, is getting the beginning and ending of the current range. So instead of dividing by 255, I wanted to say, okay, if the range is 50 to 100, then we only want to divide by 50. And I think that's wrong.
So weight begin is the weight sum. Wait, the weight sum? Oh, okay, so we start at 0. So I didn't write any of this, so...
Yeah, that's me. So weight begin and weight end are meant to be, okay, if we're currently at 50 to 100, then weight begin is 50, weight end is 100.
Yep.
And then next time around, we'll be at 100 to 175. Okay, weight begin is 100, weight end is 75. That part is working according to the output. So what I was trying to do is go ahead and return weight begin and weight end so that we can dynamically say, oh, okay, this range is 75 wide. We need to use that in the scaling. But what happened is that our number was always 255 because I did the math wrong on line 89. So we can't just divide by 50 or whatever because here, noise value divided by weight range, we need to scale that still within 255 just proportionally. So I've messed up my math now, and I'm not sure exactly what I did wrong.
Let me walk through parts of your code here just so I'm fully tracking.
Okay.
So we have weights is 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Weight begin 0, weight end is 4. Your weight end is 50, your weight begin is 98 for one of these numbers.
But weight end is bigger than weight begin.
I'm not arguing with you on that. You're correct. Okay, so I have at line 88, we just passed a noise value of 127 to assign color.
Okay.
And we got from it I think I may have misspoken. We got from it a 2, a 7, and a 9. I was looking at PAL color result, which is not your C, which was returned from assigned color. Okay, so we have a 2, 7, and a 9. So 2 is what, our color index into palette?
And 7 to 9 is saying, right. So we're 2 out of that total 16, so we really need to scale it up by 8. That's what I'm missing. Okay. Weight total equals. Okay, so in this case, weight total is 4, 8, 9, 10, 16. We'll fix this in a bit. Then what happens if I do that? It's still blood.
Nothing wrong with that.
Alright, I was trying to get away without this, but what I really want to do is, let's say, I'm going to document what I'm trying to do.
Cool.
Yeah. So, example, noise value equals 128. It's
Whoa.
going to be...
If you refresh it right now, it's like bloody egg yolks.
Oh, wait, that's something. What'd you do?
I just refreshed it. You added a comment. Oh, you did remove all of the whatever code you had on 97, 98, and 99.
That's what it is. Yeah. Well, that could be illuminating as well.
I am rather partial to the bloody egg yolks.
Yeah. Consuming the unborn. Okay, so we are in 2/16 of total range used. That is only to med. So this is what I'm thinking, or this comment is sort of describing what my weekend fried brain is thinking. Is that we need to map the noise values that can occur in that range, which is in this case about 111 to 143, to the range 0 to 255.
Okay. Why does it need to be mapped from 0 to 255?
So the noise values that can pick out that color, which is color number, I'm going to say 3,
Sure.
are noise values that are 111 to 143. That's just, it has to be within that range, otherwise it would map to a different color.
Yes. However,
So
0 to 255 is arbitrary here for our scaling, for our gradient, right?
what?
You
255
particularly want how far into the current gradient are we as a function, or as a 0 to 1, and then multiply that by the max that. No, you'd have to add it to the beginning of that. Multiply it by the total range and add it to the beginning of that range. Does that make sense?
I don't think I followed what you were
I
doing
think
because
this
I
is
don't know
wrong.
math.
If we're going to use this to say this is your total brightness, I guess.
Intensity, yeah.
Intensity, yeah. Then I think that is going to be wrong. That's going to push everything.
It's a scaling factor. We're changing each of the colors to scale. So let's say we were at 128. If we multiply each one of them by 128 divided by 255, then we're going to get something that is half as bright, roughly.
We are going to get all of these to be something between 0 and 1 on the brightness. Is that what you want, or do you want the pink? Well, okay, so we've got, I don't know what these colors are, but do you want all of them to be 0 to 1 intensity, or do you want the ones at the lower end to be in the darker range of intensity?
If the noise value is in the start of the range, I want it to scale essentially to black. And if it's, well, not black, but 0 intensity of that color. And if it's at the far right end of the range, I want it to scale to full intensity of that color, and then map everything in between.
Okay, I think that we just have different ideas of what the final output will be. So go ahead. I think that what you have is doing what you are describing your result to be,
Right.
which is just different than what I had in mind, which is totally fine.
it's going to be convenient to have wait till the return day here. Somewhat broken. Probably going back to the bloody eggs. Oh yeah. For now. Okay. Next time I need to do more math on paper to make sure my ideas are straightforward.
Hey, as long as it looks good. It's back to bloody yolk.
Yeah. That's a known issue. Hey, now it's not even yolk.
It's just blood.
I just done something you did.
Okay. As long as it wasn't my palette creation, which looks like it's still there. I just added a new palette and then I was just doing some formatting changes, so it's fine.
Gradients. That's weird. Can we go back to the very first palette?
Yeah, just change that palette to a 0 on 93. Ugh. That looks different.
Yeah.
So is that the result of what you were describing?
I don't think it's right yet. It's closer. Because of the lateness of the hour, my math is not quite right. I'm gonna grab a piece of paper here. A little bit. Or maybe I'll just do it in comments here. So I think what I want, example, so test case, 128. So okay, range equal minus 11 equals 17 times 2 done something wrong. Okay.
So you're saying that the bucket that 128 falls into is 32 wide?
That is what I want. That right there. So the 17 is
Yep.
the range.
The range for that bucket.
Right.
Okay.
So how color is there? Okay, so offset equals how color. Oh no, I don't need that.
Or is that's its position in the bucket? 17? Okay. 32 is the range of the bucket.
Oh, let's see what that does. Well,
It looks cool.
it looks cool, but there's no gradient.
There is no gradient.
What have I done wrong? Not planning ahead.
Uh, actually,
Well, that makes it easier to see.
it doesn't fix your problem.
No, that was just a transformation. Makes the code cleaner though.
If we do that, there, okay.
I'm not. Right, so range began. This was 111. This was 128. This is the 32. This is the 7 in our example code. This is the 9. This is the 16. Was the right color actually being used? Okay. And then range began. Yeah, 128. Oh. I think I see what I'm doing wrong. This was assuming 128 was the noise value. Why was that also my maximum? Is that actually? think the color needs to be multiplied by the scaling factor, and the scaling factor is based off of where noise value is. Minus range began divided by that. I think that you have changed the speed, and I have made everything worse.
Oh, I didn't change the speed. You're just seeing a result of only seeing partials, I think.
Yes, that is what I'm doing. Range beginning is that. That is what I wanted.
This is looking like what you expected it to look like?
Yeah, more or less. So
Okay.
I was multiplying my 255 more than once.
Okay.
That
Okay.
well.
So,
So
go ahead.
what I'm seeing from this gradient is because we're gradienting between each range, we're seeing a lot more blending between adjacent ranges because the numbers are only shifting by a little bit. So you're getting the most one number of one color, and just next to it the least of the next color.
We're also seeing a black border around everything because we're treating each one as if it was a full range of the color space.
Right. Now, I think we could solve that by doing a minimum and maximum value here.
I just changed the palette, which looks a little better, easier to see it.
Nice. So, for one thing, range multiplier equals that. What am I doing? My keyboard shortcuts are not good.
What did you do?
Switch keyboard layouts. So what I was thinking, do we have math.min and max?
Yes.
So I want a minimum of this and 0.9, and math.max of that and 0.1, something like that.
Uh-huh. I don't see any difference.
Maybe constrain it down a little bit. Oh, it's looking better. So tweaking these values could get us a variation of gradients. In fact, if we just do like 0.5, we'll be back to the no gradients.
Ah, that's pretty cool looking.
But if we go ahead and do 0.25, 0.75, then I think, no?
You're still no gradients, you're just brighter. I think it's what it was.
Oh, okay. So we can have a play with the scalar there. I think I would want to break it out into different statements, though. I really do like the exaggerated effect here with scaling down the black in the edges.
I think it's neat. What I think that I would like to see is So if we go back to the gray, which we can't easily go back to at this point, we had a straight 0 to 255 mapping of the values from the Perlin Noise.
Yeah.
And that was cool because it looked like you were viewing kind of a height map from above. You got these hills and these valleys, these peaks, right? And I think that our colors, I think it would be cool if our colors smoothly transitioned in intensity as they traveled through the buckets.
Okay.
So our first bucket is, we'll call it, a range of 0 to 128, and then our second, if we just have two buckets, 0 to 128 and 129 to 255, the intensity of the 128 value is going to be one less than the intensity of the 129, so that we get a smooth intensity transition between all of the colors.
So what I think I'm hearing you saying is we could actually take the previous color or the next color, and instead of just ramping up and down the current values, proportionally scale them to the previous color or the next color. So the previous color is 40, and our nominal value is 70, but we're only halfway into the range. Then we should be midway between 40 and 70.
So yeah, if our range is 30 wide, and we start at this range starts at 30 and goes to 60. If we are at 45, then we have a half intensity added to the start, right? So
I was seeing it the other way, where if you were midway in the range, then that was 100% the color right there. Like if your color was red and you were halfway through the range, then you are 100% red. If you're at the start of your range, let's say you're between red and blue, then start of the range you're half red, half blue, which would be magenta. And as you get closer to the middle of that range, you get stronger on the red until eventually you're 100% red and no magenta. Is that something like what you were thinking?
I don't think so. I think that might be neat too. I'm seeing that there's a lot of ways that we could try to get colors on screen here. I was thinking more of, we've got 3 buckets, okay, and that might not be nice because it's the middle's nice split. But anyway, so we have, well, let's just call it 0 to 25, 25 to 200, and then 200 to 201 to 255, whatever, right?
Sure. I'm just describing what you're saying on lines 134 here.
Sure. Okay. So then if we have a value that is exactly half between 26 and 200, that may not work out. 87. Or no, not 87.
You didn't scale.
Yeah, I didn't. 87 plus 26, right? So if we have 113, that's going to be halfway into this range. Right? And so then if we take at half brightness on that range, and here's where being late in the day is hitting me, so
Are you frozen or?
I'm physiologically frozen. Sorry. Okay, so if we have a value of 113,
Sure.
then that's going to be at 0.5 on our 26 to 200 range.
I just gave some arbitrary color mappings here.
Sure. And then if we multiply that by the total value, the total range, which should end up with the 87, right? That's the 0.5 times 200 minus 26.
Well, yes.
So we're halfway into that range, right?
Okay.
And then if we add that value to the 25, or I guess the 26, Actually, that didn't get us anywhere because is it always going to get us nowhere? This may be erroneous thinking then.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. What are you trying to use that halfway through the range to do?
Oh, we want that from 255.
Okay, so you'd be getting scaling that to 0 to 55 would get you 127.
So if we are there's our red, green, and our blue, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm right here, plus worked. What did you just do?
I think you had a multi-select and I was editing. Sorry, I was doing dramatic effect.
Okay. So if we're somewhere here into blue,
yeah,
then I think what I'm trying to get at, and I think I was definitely explaining it wrong, is for our intensity of that color, we should be, go back to there. Our intensity should be there on 0 to 255.
Well, should it, or should it be here? Because you're about 3/4 of the way through your range.
That's a good question. So what does that do? No, I don't think so. Because I want to avoid having full bright and full bright. I want this to be one step brightness below the first one of the next bucket.
Okay.
Or intensity. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. You're going to have a sharp color divide, but the relative brightness will be similar.
Right. So and then I think that what you were talking about with lerping between previous color and next color, I think that would also look pretty good.
Yeah, to borrow some of your excellent ASCII art, let's see, whatever they want is this. So let's take that. So I was actually thinking, no, I want, yeah. So let's say we're somewhere here, and I don't actually need this right now. Actually, I don't need that. So I would say this is 25% of the way between red bottom and red top.
Okay.
So what I was thinking is yes. So if full intensity red equals that 50% mark, then this would be 25% red plus 25% green. Actually, I'm sorry. This is green. All right. So doing some blending and saying, okay, this is getting closer to the next range. So we're going to take some of this range and some of that range until eventually, if you are right next to it, like let's say you're here, then it should be 75%. 75% green, I think. Yeah, so at this point, you would be 50% red and 50% green. And as soon as you step over the line, well, you're really 51%, 49%. When you
Sure.
step over the line, you'd be 49%, 51%. And so the transition between those two would be almost imperceptible. It would just continue the gradient, and you would merge eventually from all the way red to all the way green as you move from the center of one of these regions into the center of the adjacent region.
Right.
So I think that would be a really interesting way to display as well. So that would definitely be a potential future project,
Sure.
is having various mapping functions, and it's randomly chosen. Maybe you click a button or something, and then you get to compare how they look.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. I think that what we got was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I definitely agree that the black lines are a little bit overwhelming.
yeah,
The blackness.
we could probably get rid of that just by saying, bump the range up a little bit at the bottom.
Yeah.
So you're cutting off the top and the bottom.
Yeah, just oh, that's true. Why am I even bothering with the top? We like tops too much.
Yeah, a tad, I think.
But they need to have an on-screen slider where you could just slide it around. Point four seems to be some interesting result.
It looks pretty strange in zero, but that's because in palette zero, because the colors are so different
Yeah. Do we
for
have
the palette.
more than two pellets? Do we have pellet number two?
Palette two is what we were looking at, that blue-based palette.
I really like pellet one.
I think of all of the stuff that we've done today, I think that the bloody egg yolk was actually pretty cool. Also, the one where the screen was pure white with the red surfacing up, like you were looking at the back of a worm or snake swimming or something. That was kind of cool too.
Yeah. Definitely
Okay.
some really interesting results when you get your math wrong when you're scaling colors.
Yeah, yeah. So if we were to continue this into actually properly lerping between colors, we'd probably want to look at using a different color space than RGB because color interpretation between or interpolation between uh, colors in RGB can be a little jarring.
No, that's a good point. It doesn't really map transitions. All the transitions we'd be looking at. It would be a first approximation.
Of course, and I think that it would probably look fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see where we're at here. We have two modified files. So um, final checkpoint, session 3. Okay, so I've got that potentially pushed live. I'll just do a check and make sure that it actually went up there. Yep. Okay, so that is live on the GitHub page,
Awesome.
and people can view it there if they so desire.
So this definitely went in a different direction than I was originally thinking, but the simplicity of it is we didn't have to track time durations and try to map that into anything. This is just purely transforming grayscale into something interesting in a color space.
Yeah, and I think that the first thing we were talking about of keeping track of, I think we're talking over each other, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's my bad. I was just saying we haven't even looked at playing with weights to fix some of these gradient issues. Like if I put everything to 2, 2, 2, 2, everything gets a little bit more different.
Oh, sure, yeah. And that's still with trying to cap it off at 0.4, so let's cap it off
Yeah.
at 0. That brought back our black lines with a vengeance.
That brought the black lines. I was actually also changing the range. Instead of 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, it was 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. So different proportionalities.
Yeah.
And then if we just go ahead and do straight up 1 with the black lines, it looks like that. What about without the black lines? Can you?
Yep, that's back in. But I did it in the Flubits editor, so I don't know if it actually saved.
Oh no, probably didn't save locally for me.
Okay, there. So actually, what I wanted to look at here is instead of doing your weights as high to low to high, what if we do it in the opposite direction?
Oh yeah. Well,
That ends up looking a lot better, I think.
Well, the reason we did the weights originally is because this is a chaotic function that seems to have an attractor around 0.5. Middle is dominating, and we wanted to have a little less domination. But you're right, with the way the color mapping has ended up, you get some really interesting gradients shading from the dominant color to the outer edges. What happens if you do this with less of the scaling down? Where did I put that? You keep changing color scheme.
I am. So what have you just done?
Went from 0 to 0.1 to 0.2, and 0.2 gets rid of a lot of the blackness of the transitions.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think it would be really neat if we were to continue doing graphics things like this to get some sort of on-screen widget where we can just slide a slider back and forth and dynamically change the range multiplier, the weights.
Right. Definitely easier to see what your effects are if you don't have to code it each time.
Right, and I think I could lose hours just playing with the sliders on this.
Okay, well, I had already committed something that said final commit, but I think that this is actually a better one.
All right. Final commit 2.0.
Yeah, for real this time.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, a toggle button for changing palettes.
So there's something called dot. Is it called dot? Dot controls or something, maybe?
For JavaScript.
Yeah, and it actually does exactly what you're talking about. You get a little menu that you can have sliders on, and you can hook those up to values in your code, and when those values change, the slider updates, and when the slider changes, the value updates.
Oh, that's really nice. I figured you were going to say it had a callback function that you could hook it up yourself.
Trying to see what it was called. Something keeps stealing my focus as I'm typing. And I can't actually do a Google search right now, so I don't even know if I'm broadcasting. Yeah, I am. Something's wrong.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's weird.
It might be the long weekend, but...
Hello, Anon 29911.
Might be the long weekend, but I suspect I could stare at this for some time.
Yeah. So... Okay. I've got that pushed live now. Actually, we're getting a bug. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Yeah, occasionally my render just stops, and on line 96 we have an error where we're trying to read from your assigned color at index 0.
See, fair enough. Assigned color could bail out if you hit the maximum, I think. So
Oh.
I think we should probably go ahead and have a return default to 0. 0 weights, 0, and total weight. What do you think?
Wasn't paying attention, I was typing something else, so reload that. So your assigned color change to...
So I was thinking something like that.
Okay. I think that the case where we actually end up hitting this is... I haven't captured it.
I think it's only going to be if noise value is 250.
if it's at the
I
cap.
set from the floating point rounding error,
Yeah.
and I didn't take that into account when I wrote the loop. And so if you do a 255, you will drop out, hit the end of the function, not return anything, which JavaScript will go ahead and gracefully handle on the other end.
Okay, well I just forced noise value to 255, and let's see what that does here.
This is going to look horrible.
Well, it's just going to be for that one frame, right? That one pixel, that one frame.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we are hitting your return 00 weight, 0 total weight.
Okay.
And we didn't crash. Okay, so that seems to have fixed that. In the one case of 255, I didn't test 254 or anything else, but I think that should be fine.
Take a look at reload it.
Oh, what'd you do?
I just passed 255 to assign color, which
Oh.
is really weird. I don't understand. Oh, we're still scaling it.
That's pretty cool, actually.
So we completely ignore the function for which color we choose.
Right.
Just scale that color.
Just scale the color.
Yeah. So that was my way of testing this. All right, fix that. All right.
Okay, we have Golden Wolf 11 that says a minor complaint, he cannot hear Cube. And I wonder if that's when I'm talking.
Okay, you stop talking a sec. So this is a test of whether Cube's audio is coming through on YouTube. Caleb can hear me okay through his headphones, but I need to get some headphones of my own, and I've been told it's echoey. So, okay, Caleb, you can talk now.
Well, it's echoey because I'm not streaming you through my headset. And you're coming out my speakers, and I have to change that. Also, I think, are we even broadcasting anymore? Because I can't hit YouTube, I can't hit Google, so I think something may be going on here. Although it's weird that I can still talk to you.
I'm going to go ahead and pull up. Well, there's something going on.
I'm not streaming you through my headset.
When we changed everything to just the 255, so that was live as of like 30 seconds ago.
Okay, yeah, maybe there's just some hiccup going on.
Your computer can only do so many things.
Is it still live? It looks like it might still be live. Okay. Well, we are no longer in the state of you're running egg yolks, right? Okay, so I don't think I have another commit to push. Status. I do, because that was your bug fix. So one more final commit.
Don't use the word final.
It's overloaded. And really final.
Just say static. Hey, Top Fuel's back.
Hey, Top Fuel. Welcome back. We're about done here. I've just pushed this live, so we should technically have that live out there. Okay. Well, Cube, Bill, thanks for joining me. This was fun. We did some cool stuff, and we learned how to not code so late at night. It was cool.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Hopefully you have me back for a future coding project.
Yeah, and anybody that watched it, please let us know what we could improve upon. Flubits seemed to work pretty well for us. I think that it's going to work well for things of this nature. The incremental pushing to the GitHub page I didn't do as frequently as I liked, but I always tried to have the result of what we were doing running live in my stream as well, so that you could at least follow along from the view of what you're seeing, which also is good if you're watching this later on YouTube. You can still see what we're doing at the time that we're doing it. Yeah, let us know if there's any audio issues or whatever. We obviously can't watch it while we're streaming it. And thanks for joining us. Leave us comments, whatever. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
And I guess I'll stop this. Maybe.